Sog knives are some of the most fabled and mysterious combat blades ever procured by the United States government. Their existence and creation has long been shrouded, and distinguishing a real Studies and Observations Group knife from a fake is difficult by design. Due to the clandestine nature of their use, there are very few defining markers to look for when presented with one of the legendary group's blades. In this video, I hope to provide an overview of the knives used by the Studies and Observations Group, and give collectors and enthusiasts alike an idea of what to look for when examining a true SOG knife. We'll start in 1964 with the creation of SOG. At this time, CISO Chief Conrad Ben Baker was tasked with creating a knife for use by Special Forces units in Vietnam and across the fence. After workshopping multiple designs, Baker took inspiration from his father's Marbles Gladstone skinning knife and contracted the Yogi Shokai Company of Naha, Okinawa to provide the knives. Because Yogi Shokai was a trading company, they procured the manufacturers to create the blades, then passed them on to CISO for distribution. Whether it was by design or the information has been lost, it's unclear at this time who the exact manufacturers were for each iteration of the SOG knife. Now on to the distinct variations of SOG knives. First came the 7-inch Recon. This knife featured a 7-inch blade that almost flowed from the handle. It was completely unmarked and was held together using a threaded full tang with a locking nut at the base of the pommel. Both the guard and pommel were made of chemically blackened cast brass. The pommel is hollow, and the chemical coating on the fittings was easily rubbed off with use, leaving a natural brass color. The handle consisted of stacked leather washers and featured 2 white plastic spacers on either end of the grip. Another defining feature of the 7-inch Recon was a relieved choil, allowing for a better grip and leverage when extracting the knife. Only 1,300 of these knives were known to have been produced, along with a handful of prototypes at a cost of $9.85 each at the time. Most of these knives saw heavy use, and many never made it out of the jungle. Because of their unique design and scarcity, they are considered one of the rarest, if not the rarest, variation of SOG knives made. Next came the Fat Guard Sog in 1966. This variation was the first to feature the iconic blued 6-inch Bowie-inspired blade. The guards on these knives were rounded and almost bulbous, which gave the design the nickname Fat Guard. Like the 7-inch Recon before it, the knife featured a full-threaded tang, leather washer handle, and brass fittings. Within the line of Fat Guards, there are 2 known variations, separated by a few small differences in design. The early Fat Guards featured black spacers in the grip, exaggerated grind lines, and a deeper cut out of the back of the blade just above the guard, possibly for improved grip when extracting the knife. On occasion, examples will pop up with a red coloration to the blade, rather than the traditional blued black. The second iteration of the Fat Guard was more refined, and closely resembled the SOG knife designs to follow. Black spacers were replaced with white ones, like on other models, and the cutout on the back of the blade was reduced, leaving it with the iconic blade design used thereafter. A total of 1,300 Fat Guard SOGs were ordered by CISO. In March of 1967, CISO ordered a new batch of knives with a slightly improved design. These knives featured a similar design to the Fat Guard, but were acid etched with a serial number 1 through 3700, and were fitted with a redesigned guard with pointed tips. These knives, known as the numbered SOGs, are the most common variant of the CISO ordered SOG knives, but still rare by any collector's standards. As previously stated, the design stayed consistent with prior models, but the new slimmer guard provided a bit of added utility to the blade. Its sharp points were intended to reduce the risk of being disarmed during close quarters combat, and added a little extra protection against the user's hand slipping up the grip. Within this run of knives, the first 1,000 or so came with a consistent blued black blade. Later in the serialized run, an error occurring at the manufacturer caused the blades to be delivered with a reddish plum hue. This variant is known as the Plum Sog, which holds great collector's value in its own right. As with other models, all numbered SOGs came with white spacers, leather stacked grips, and brass fittings. The next model to touch on is the Iron Guard Sog. While the previous examples were documented to have been ordered by CISO, the Iron Guard's origins are unknown. Its design is very similar to the original Fat Guard, but with iron fittings rather than brass, and a guard more similar to that of the 7-inch Recon. These knives typically feature black spacers, and the exact number of models ordered, or who ordered them, has been lost in time. A final variant to cover is the 5000 Series Sog. These are among the rarest of the variants and were thought to have been ordered directly by the CIA for SOG operators and other private contractors. Their design varies slightly, but most closely resembles the numbered SOG. A hallmark of these knives is their lacquer-painted iron fittings. They all have the number 5000 stamped onto the ricasso, and a serial number within the 5000 range stamped onto the pommel. While other variations of SOG knives exist, these are the 5 main models to look out for. In a future video, I'll be discussing presentation SOG knives, of which there are as many, if not more, variations. I'll also be releasing a video soon on SOG sheaths and sharpening stones, which play an integral role in the authentication process and hold interesting design characteristics of their own. I wasn't able to cover every aspect of the knives shown today, but I hope that this video can be used as a general reference guide when examining Vietnam-era SOG knives. As always, thanks so much for watching, and feel free to check out the other videos on my channel. Have a great day, y'all.